All right. And it's 7 o'clock. I'm going to start to read the script. In accordance with the requirements of the open meeting law, please be advised that this meeting is being audio video recorded. The agenda lists all the topics which may be discussed at the meeting and those reasonably anticipated by the chair. Votes may be taken as a result of these discussions. Not all items listed may in fact be discussed, and other items not listed may also be brought up for discussion to the extent permitted by open meeting law. Please address all comments to the chair. This meeting of the Conservation Commission is being held by Zoom, and the Zoom link number is 812-8378-2929. For those watching online, and there's a passcode of 468905. For those watching at home or through streaming live, you can always find the agenda on the town website and the town calendar. And if you go there, you can click on the Zoom link right there, and it'll bring you right to the proper Zoom meeting. I'm Bob Pease. I'm the chair of the commission, and we're going to do a roll call to see who's here and participating. Rich Birch. Jeff Viviano.
Present.
Thank you, Jeff. Katie Childs. Mike LaRouche.
Here.
Mary Wilson.
Here.
Rich Tremblay.
Here.
And I think that's it. I would just remind everyone that at the moment, the Conservation Commission does not have a conservation administrator. We're doing the best we can without one. Things may happen tonight, that are the result of not having a conservation administrator, but I think that we've covered all the bases. At least I hope so. Is there any announcements from members of the commission or public comments? Are there any public comments from members of the public? None, then we'll go, the minutes of our previous meeting. I'm looking for a motion to approve the minutes of November 2nd, 2022.
So moved.
Do we have a second?
Second, Richard.
Thank you. Roll call. Jeff.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
An aye for myself. We have no appointments tonight. We have a new public hearing pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws. A public meeting on a request for determination of applicability by David Blatt for the proposed removal of large pine trees within the buffer zone at 411 Goodrich Street. Is there someone here for this application? Then I'd like, if there's no one here for this application, I'd like to continue it until later in the meeting. And if no one shows up, by the end of the public hearings, then we'll continue it to the next meeting. So I'm looking for a motion to continue to later in the meeting.
So moved.
Thank you, Mike.
Second.
Second.
Thank you, Mary and Jeff. Roll call, Jeff.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mary.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
An aye for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 as amended, and the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by Jason Martin for the proposed construction of a replacement septic system at 45 Palmer Road. And it has a DEP number of 208-1276. And I would note for the record that I watched the selectmen's meeting last week, in which Mr. Proctor and the applicants appeared to request permission to cross their property, and that is currently in process. Who is here for this application?
I am Mr. Chairman, Jack Maloney from Dillis and Roy.
All right. Jack, would you like to share your screen?
I would, thank you.
That would be wonderful.
All right, can everybody see that?
I can, you might make it a little bigger, you know, to focus in where the septic tank and stuff is.
How's that?
There we go.
All right,
That's better for me anyway.
okay, Parmenter Road on the right, where you can see my cursor waving here. The property is in pink. Where my cursor is, we have Lake Shirley to the west. Existing house, number 45, and it has an existing carport. In yellow, where the cursor is, there's an existing 1,000-gallon tank, and the leaching pit that was installed 25 or 30 years ago is actually on the town property, right where my cursor is, this yellow circle. Back in October, we went out and we did a deep test hole and a perk test in this area. And we have proposed a new leaching field in this somewhat yellow shaded area here. This 1,000-gallon tank will be pumped, crushed and removed and replaced with a singular treatment tank, followed by a 1,000-gallon pump chamber with a force main that comes up to the distribution box into this leach field. This line right here towards the back of the house, coming through this concrete patio, is the 50-foot buffer zone. And then we have the 100-foot buffer zone coming right through the middle of the front yard. We also have an existing artesian well right down in this area. This blue arch is the 50-foot offset from the well. And then we have the 100-foot radius, which is the outer arc. This plan did go before the Board of Health last week and was approved as designed. And as the chairman had mentioned earlier, Dan Proctor and the proponents were at the selectmen's meeting asking for permission to access the backyard from this side of the property so they could get in, pump, crush, and take out the old tank and install the new septic tank and pump chamber. Any of or the limits will be surrounded with siltation devices, wattles, if that's comfortable for the commission. And we wouldn't be starting this back area project or anything within 100 feet until after the selectmen's meeting in December, when all the language has been hammered out and signed by both parties. That's all I have, Chairman.
Thank you so much. I would note for the other commissioners, I was out there and I took 3 pictures. One picture from the outside of the fence, and you can see how that there is a white fence that goes right along the border. Another picture around from the back that shows the location of where the septic tanks are going to go. It's a bit of a grade there down to the toward the lake. And then another picture showing where they put the where some prior owners put a fence and a bunch of other stuff on the town property, which is next door there. Are there any comments or questions from commissioners?
I can make a comment, Bob.
Go ahead, Jeff.
We were out on a site walk probably, a year ago or so. Maybe it wasn't so long ago, but they put in that, well, there was a breezeway at the house and they put some sonotubes in with I think it was like a half bathroom, but I'm familiar with the site. And other than that, I really don't have any questions or concerns with this project.
Thank you, Jeff. There any other Richard Tremblay?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The existing leach tank that's on the town property, I'd like to know what we're gonna do with it. Is that gonna be removed, crushed and removed?
That will be, and I think Danny's in the audience, but typically what they would do is they would pump it, crush the top and pump it, and then put some flowable fill in there, basically sand, and you know, solidify that. The chamber itself, after it's filled in, you know, it's not going to have any issue with collapsing or anything like that, because again, it'll be filled in instead of being a big empty void.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions from members of the commission? Any comments or questions from members of the public? When were they hoping to get this work done?
Well, technically, they can't start anything in the backyard until they get the paperwork hammered out with the selectmen. So the front area where the leach field is, they could technically start right after you issue your order of conditions, because that doesn't need access from the town property.
Okay,
So they could get part of the project put together and then just wait on the tank area to be done at a later date.
well, if there are no further comments from commissioners or from members of the public, I'm looking for a motion. Let's see, this is a notice of intent, and it does have a DEP number. To approve this notice of intent with a standard order of conditions. But maybe with a note that they can't access the rear tank until they get permission from the town.
So moved.
Do we have a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Jeff, second by Mike. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie, I'm not sorry, Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
I for myself. Any questions?
Nope.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you,
Thank-
Dan.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman, before you
Yes.
start in on the next hearing, might I recommend that you appoint one of the commissioners as a co-host so they can watch the waiting room for you?
Actually, I have disabled the waiting room tonight. We don't have one.
Yay, okay.
So I don't have to do that. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended. In the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on an abbreviated notice of resource area delineation by JMC/TBJG Lunenburg 2 LLC for 400 Lemonster Shirley Road. That was a mouthful. Who's here for that application?
I am, sir. Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering.
All right, and I would note for the other commissioners, again, I was out there today and drove around the property. I put some pictures in the cloud underneath in this directory. Go ahead, Chris. Would you like to share your
great.
screen, Chris?
Yes, sir, if at all possible. All right. So can everybody see my screen now?
I can.
Okay, great. Just for the record again, Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering here on behalf of JNC/TBG Lunenburg 2 LLC for a ANRAD filing for 400 Lemonster Shirley Road. What we're reviewing tonight is only a portion of the actual property of 400 Lemonster Shirley Road. It's actually quite a large parcel. What we're concentrating our review for this ANRAD filing is specifically to approximately 125 acres along the easterly side of the property. This portion of the property has historically been utilized as a mining operation, sand pit, and other miscellaneous uses associated with the PJ Keating's operations. But in the recent years or so, the site has been maintained to some certain extent for the function of PJ Keating, but for the most part has returned to a moderately natural state. Much of the site is currently woodland. There are some existing cart roads and old excavator paths that are still utilized. But the majority of the site now has been revegetated, if you will. Portions of the site are subject to the jurisdiction of the commission, which is why we're before you tonight. We're specifically looking at a series of bordering vegetated wetlands, as well as a few isolated wetlands that run along the portion of the property. I'll be able to zoom in a moment here. We've reviewed these with multiple of the agents. Matt Morrow was the initial conservation agent to go out. We walked the site with him. Reviewed the delineation with him at that point in time. We weren't able to get the filing in during his tenure with the commission. And then we subsequently went out again with Nadia Madden before she had left the commission as well to review it, the delineation. She had a few comments and concerns. We re-reviewed certain components of the actual site and just to confirm our original delineation. But just to orientate ourselves here, we have Leominster Shirley that's along the top of the page. This is the area that was originally delineated in association with the Lunenburg Central warehouse projects across the street. What we've done is we've maintained those original delineation flags and just effectively expanded them for several of the areas, specifically an isolated vegetated wetland immediately across the street. There's an existing cart road that crosses immediately off of Leominster Shirley Road. So if you were to drive to the site now, you would enter off of this cart path and pretty much bisect two of the wetland areas. During our review and historical conversations with everybody, we ultimately found that this was actually an old sediment bond that was utilized by PJ Keating. At this time, it's no longer utilized as such, and it's reverted itself to a natural wetland. So we have one small isolated wetland here, and that drains over to a much broader bordering vegetated wetland that goes across the property towards the town property for the well. There's also a subsequent detached bordering vegetated wetland that effectively drains into the same area, again, going through the well property itself. During our review, we also determined that there is an isolated vegetated wetland that's located between the power line easements. It appears to be, it is very much an isolated vegetated wetland, but is more caused by the creation of this access road, but nonetheless, it's under review by the commission under the local bylaw. And as we continue through the site, we continue along with the bordering vegetated wetland along the town well. There's another larger isolated wetland located just further south of the well property that's been delineated. This is that isolated wetland just to, for the commission to be aware of. And then there's a much broader natural bordering vegetated wetland that ultimately drains to a perennial stream that's located within the town of Shirley. So this area is exclusively untouched natural bordering vegetated wetlands. If you were to go out there today, it would be a very prime example of what a wetland that's never been touched looks like. But nonetheless, it has all its corresponding buffer zones. What we're trying to get the commission is to determine what the delineation is for future development, if any, at this point in time. We have not received the EP file number yet, so we are expecting a continuance at this point, but if there's any questions from the commission, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
I would just point out for the other commissioners that, in case you didn't catch it, that if you look at the locus map, the parcel in the upper right-hand corner, that's the Keating well, which supplies Lunenburg with most of its water. And then the parcel, it's got the funny shape at the bottom. That is a conservation area that's owned by a private conservation organization and can only be accessed from Lancaster. There's no access to it from Lunenburg. But so that piece down the bottom is a conservation area. A private conservation area. Yep, what he's showing you right there. That's a private conservation area that's accessed from Lancaster. You can see those two dead end roads beneath it, you know, that end in the cul-de-sac. So any comments or questions from commissioners? If there are no comments or questions, I went out there and looked at it today in the rain. Lot of runoff. You can see where it's been used for, as a sand pit. Quite often when you go to these sand pits, there's a lot of dumping. There wasn't much dumping at all out there. A lot of Russian olive, you can see, where it's been coming back. So you get all these early successional invasive plants. So, but if there's nothing else, I'm looking for a motion to continue until our next meeting, which is December 7th.
So moved.
Second.
All right, motioned by Jeff, seconded by Mike. Roll call. Jeff?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mary?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And I for myself.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very
Chris.
much. Thank you.
Let's see. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40 is amended in the Town of Lunenburg Wetlands Protection and Municipal Bylaws, a public hearing on a notice of intent by David and Lee Sarnowski for the construction of a single-family home and associated site improvements at 680 Reservoir Road, DEP number 208-1275. Who is here for this application?
Brian Marchetti with McCarty Engineering.
Hello, Brian.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
Do you remember what the DEP comments were?
Yes, there were none.
Those are good comments
It's
to
the best
have.
kind.
All right.
So,
Would you like to share your screen, Brian?
yes, let me find that. All right, can you see the screen?
I certainly can, speaking for myself.
Excellent. All right, so I'm here tonight on behalf of Dave and Lee Sarnowski. The applicant is here with me in the office. They recently purchased this 11.5 acre parcel on Reservoir Road. It's located immediately adjacent and behind the Fitzgerald Field, so the small baseball field on Reservoir Road. Right across the street as well from the driveway entrance to Shady Point. It's 11.5 acres. Property was purchased this summer. We had the property delineated by Matt Marrow, and it was surveyed by Toper Land Survey. The intent here is to just build one single family house on the property. Along the frontage, if you've been out there, there is a wetland system basically almost along the entire frontage. There's a small opening between the wetland of, call it 80 feet or so, where we are proposing to put the driveway entrance through. We're obviously putting that location to avoid and minimize any direct impact to the wetland resource area. The driveway is approximately 400 feet to get back to the house, higher up in elevation on the west side of the property. And that's because it puts the majority of the house and driveway and septic system And there is a detached two-car garage he's going to be building within the upland area that's outside of, the majority of it's outside of the 100-foot buffer zone. So we've designed the site to minimize the impact to the actual buffer zone. We do have Easter Brook located on the southern edge of the property, but the brook is about 500 feet from any of the proposed developed area. So we're well outside of any riparian zone on the property. So again, as a single family residence, the driveway we are proposing to pave. The septic system is going to be located right in front of the house, outside of the buffer zone, within that upland area. The stormwater improvements, because it is a single family residential development, the Massachusetts stormwater management standards don't apply. However, the local Lunenburg stormwater bylaw does apply. So we have designed this to meet and exceed the requirements of Lunenburg's local bylaw. We have both of the rooftops of the garage and the main house will be collected in a roof leader system and discharged to dry wells. All of the paved area in the driveway will sheet flow to a pea-stone diaphragm along the southern edge of the driveway. Those pea-stone diaphragms will route the water to 2 individual rain gardens. We did test pits out there in both the rain garden locations and found we have ample separation of groundwater as well as type A soils for rapid recharge. So these stormwater BMPs have been designed to exceed the local stormwater bylaw in Lunenburg, and they will treat the 1-inch water quality volume. And by doing so, they remove in excess of 90% total suspended solids from the stormwater, as well as the 60% phosphorus requirement. The total disturbance that you see here, the dashed line here on the plan, is basically our limit of clearing. It's about 1.7 acres in total. Just because of the time of year, we're hoping for a quick approval. We've got the tree guy on standby here, ready to go as soon as we get our approvals here. I guess that is the full developed area. That's pretty much everything we're proposing to do here. So if you guys have any specific questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Thank you. Brian, any comments or questions from commissioners? Any comments or questions from members of the public? So can you blow up, Brian, at the beginning of the driveway there?
So you can see here the southern wetland boundary.
Yep.
There's a wetland system to the south side of the proposed lot, and just behind the baseball field. Just to show you quickly, back here in this area, there's a wetland system here with an intermittent stream that runs to a culvert. Right here that you see under the roadway.
Yep.
So this area here, it's a small culvert. It's a 12-inch CMP pipe. So this rain garden is going to discharge on this side. It'll discharge through that culvert, during high flows. And if you can see here, just so you, this right here is the no-touch buffer zone. So that's your 30-foot no-touch. And this one here is the 30-foot no-touch. So I've placed the driveway between the two. So the actual physical pavement area is outside of your no-touch zone. And again, it's as tight as we can get in the most centralized location here, so we could try to avoid pavement within the no-touch. We do have a slight impact on the northern side of the driveway here, but it kind of is what it is. It's a 15-foot wide driveway. I don't want to go any smaller than that. Trying to minimize that, I think, is just splitting hairs. But we've added as a mitigation measure, which, you know, all the rain gardens and the country drainage and the P-zone diaphragm, which are low impact development techniques to try to offset this development impact.
I would just comment that I went out and looked at the site today, and I was specifically looking at this area.
Mhm.
To be honest, yeah, I'm not seeing it that there's wetlands there.
It's,
I know it was
trust me.
flagged, you could see the flags, but I wasn't seeing it.
I tried to battle with Matt over this, and I actually had Marion DePinto come out to the site as well with me, just to review the flags, and she validated what Matt flagged out there. Wetland flag right here, 3 through 9.
Yeah,
There was a small finger. Obviously, this summer it's been pretty dry. We're in a drought. There is a small finger of vegetation that did extend up into there. And when she augured, she did find some hydric soil. So that's why you see the flags where they are today.
thank you. Any comments or questions from commissioners? I'm looking for a motion to approve this notice of intent with a standard order of conditions.
So moved by Jeff.
We have a second.
Second by Mike.
Excellent. And I love it when you say who it is for the person who does the minutes. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie, I'm sorry, Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
I for myself. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Fantastic. I have a question for you. I know without an administrator in the office, and the holidays being here, how soon do you think we could expect an order of conditions to be issued for this? and so on?
Well, today is Wednesday. Rebecca Manley, our office assistant, will be in here in the office tomorrow. If I remember to send her an email at the end of the meeting, which now that you said that's a good thing for me to write down, telling her what things we've passed tonight, she'll issue the order of conditions tomorrow by a DocuSign to the commissioners, and it all depends, you know, when the commissioners sign it, you know, when she can, it'll, if not, because then she doesn't come back in till next Wednesday, and I don't know if she's coming in next Wednesday, seeing as how, you know, it's the day before Thanksgiving.
Okay.
She works on Wednesdays and Thursdays.
I'm only asking just because, as I mentioned earlier, the tree cutter is being nice when I say anxious to get going on behalf of the owner. It's taken me longer to get this together just because of how busy we are, and they're trying to.
Well,
break
I
down
can
the
tell you
subject.
for myself, if I get the order of conditions tomorrow, I will sign it by a DocuSign.
Fantastic.
I'll do the
Okay.
same, Bob.
Appreciate any effort you guys can make to expedite that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
All right, have a good night.
I'm gonna break my usual habit and look for a motion to continue the notice of intent by Elaine Normandin for 47 Round Road, the notice of intent by Renee Ranville at 57 Round Road, and the notice of intent by Mark Sprague for 73 Round Road, all in one motion till December 7th.
So moved by Jeff.
Thank you, Jeff.
Second by
Second by
Mike.
Mary.
Seconded by Mary. We're gonna give that one to Mary, Mike.
All right, that's fine. He
Uh,
deserves it.
roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself. Pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, and Lunenburg Wetlands Protection Bylaw and regulations listed in Chapter 239, a public hearing on a notice of intent, DEP number 208-1265 by Fitchburg Land Property Owner LLC to construct a 367,000 square foot warehouse and distribution facility with parking and stormwater controls at 260 Balula Road, which I can't find Falula Road in the map, but nonetheless, that's what it says. Chris Anderson.
Yes, I'm back.
All right.
Yeah, throw my screen up real quick again. All right. So, just for the record, Chris Anderson with Hannigan Engineering here on behalf of Fitchburg Land Property Owner LLC for the construction of a 367,000 square foot warehouse distribution facility at 260 Falula Road. This project was before the commission several months ago now. I think the last time we saw this was back in May. At that time, we were awaiting DEP file numbers as well as working with both the municipalities of Fitchburg as well as the Lunenburg Planning Board in order to wrap up any final peer review comments or other concerns that were brought up during the previous meetings. I'd like to update the commission stating that we've gotten approvals from both Fitchburg Conservation and Planning Department as well as Lunenburg Planning Board as of Monday. Just to refamiliarize the commission with this project, it's a 367,000 square foot building to be constructed in an old sand pit area that's been utilized by the city of Fitchburg since effectively forever. It's a very old site. It's had many uses over the years, including sand operations, disposal of municipal waste, and other miscellaneous features as well. At this time, the site is a combination of open gravel pit areas as well as some scattered brush and vegetation that's just grown up over time. But historically, as far back as aerial photography will allow us to go back, it's been utilized in this shape, form, or fashion since that time. The property is located both within the town of Lunenburg as well as Fitchburg. The town line bisects the property in about this location, with this page east, if you will, being Lunenburg itself. The jurisdictional areas under this review were reviewed and approved by the commission under a separate order of conditions issued to Tango Construction a few years ago and has a current order to it. But just to familiarize the commission, Baker Brook runs along the easterly periphery of the property. It has a bordering vegetated wetland as well as its corresponding riparian zones. The topography in this area is unique, as in the river is substantially lower than the site, but there is a significant drumlin that runs parallel with the river that creates effectively a barrier wall between the project site as well as the river. Previously, the commission approved restoration within the 100-foot buffer zone under a separate order of conditions. So this is for a totally different portion of the property. Let me move to the next page. So as you can see here, we have an entrance road that extends into the property. The light blue hatched area is the river, along with its corresponding 100-foot buffer zone and riparian zone. So as you can see, much of the work that's being proposed in this area is located outside of the 100-foot buffers and riparian, with some portion of the site being reworked within the 200 riverfront. And again, I would state that this area has been previously disturbed, so this work is occurring within those areas, if you will. Page, you can see here's the river itself and the continuation of the 100-foot buffer, as well as riparian zone with the 200-foot riparian zone over in this area as well. So this entire area, as I stated, has been previously disturbed, and we're maintaining that natural berm that occurs between this river and the site itself, which lends itself to a very beneficial factor in this project in that there's no direct discharge to the river itself. Any water that would have to get into that river would have to go over a substantial mound and then over another hill in order to get to the river. So we're creating a hydraulic boundary between the property and the river to protect its interest itself. As part of the project, we're incorporating several stormwater management features to provide the required treatment, infiltration, and recharge and mitigation features, which are totally compliant with the Lunenburg stormwater bylaw as well as or stormwater regulations as well. We also, in part of the site plan review process, just got approval from the planning board for the stormwater permit as well, just so the commission's aware. And pretty much the next portion of the property is outside any of the buffer zones within the town. As I stated earlier, this is a restoration project more so than anything else. As part of this overall layout, we're proposing to do additional restoration between the 100-foot buffer zone, 100-foot riverfront to the 200 riverfront, and areas that are not being proposed to be utilized for the project. All in all, we're proposing just shy of 39,000 square feet of permanent alteration within the site itself. But we're proposing a restoration of approximately 72,000 square feet of area within the 100 to 200 foot riverfront area at a ratio of 1.84 to 1, which is in excess of the required 1-to-1 ratio under the wetland regulations. The restoration in this area is going to be very similar to the previous iterations from other projects in this area. We're going to do spot treatment of invasive species that are in the area. This allows us to maintain some of the more natural vegetation that exists and the canopy that exists now, and prevent any required clear cutting in order to remove the invasives. Those invasives will be physically removed or treated with chemical treatments, which will be reviewed and monitored with a certified wetland scientist and subject to review prior to any work being done by the commission or its agent itself. All in all, we're proposing to disturb a total of 6,500 square feet of new alteration, which is about 3.44% of the overall riverfront area. So we're still well below the 10% maximum. And based on previous comments from the commission at the previous hearing, it was requested that the entire 100-foot to 200-foot riverfront area be restored in a similar fashion. Under the original iteration, we were not doing as much in certain areas that were excluded from the project scope. But while we're out there, we might as well treat the entire area, so that area has also been incorporated into the site as well. That's the general gist of the project. If there's any questions from the commission, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
I have a question.
Yes.
Where's Falula Road?
Falula Road's actually, it's a really weird way to explain it. So if you are imagining the plan, so we have the town line, here's the property, you have Baker Brook. Immediately opposite of Baker Brook is the NBTA rail depot, train station, whatever you want to call it. And then there's Summer Street, which used to be Falula Street. I believe that's the old history of the area.
Oh,
So yeah, it's a weird, it's a secluded portion of the town that's kind of been dragged in and utilized Falula Street as its formal address.
and then thank you. And then I have a comment that I think you were very kind to in your current description of the current conditions there, because when I went to look at the current conditions, there's a tremendous amount of dumping that's been going on there. And while I was only there a half hour, and while I was there, I saw 2 different trucks come in and drop stuff off. So this is going to be a big improvement to the site.
Yes, it's I can agree with that from experience, where I've been stopped by police officers and members of the Fitchburg DPW asking me what I was doing on the property and thinking that I was just dumping. So I completely understand where you saw that and experienced that yourself.
Any comments or questions from commissioners? I would note that we asked for a Graves review of the wetlands delineation. And they had absolutely no comments or concerns. Any comments or questions from members of the public? I'm looking for a motion to approve this notice of intent with a standard order of conditions.
So moved.
Motion by Mike. Do we have a second?
Second by Jeff.
Second by Jeff. Roll call. Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
and I for myself. Thank you, Chris.
Very much.
All right. Returning to our first public hearing with David Blatt. Well, we'll wait till the very end and then close it at the very end. Questions for town council. That shouldn't have been on the agenda. Conservation administrator start date. Let's see, let's call that up. This is Anna Petrie. She's got a bachelor's degree in wildlife and fisheries management from Unity College with coursework in the identification of trees, plant biology, administration and organization, and wildlife conservation, population habitat assessment and management, and GIS. I love the fact that she's got GIS. As an intern, Anna performed a variety of field research and project implementation related to wildlife and habitat for Maine inland fisheries and wildlife, the Unity College Squirrel Research Project, United States Forest Service, United States Fish and Wildlife Service. After she graduated, Anna worked as an inventory arborist for the Asian Longhorn Beetle Project, where she did data collection, mapping, and coordination with the USDA. She's also been employed as a sales associate at a local commercial nursery. And currently she is the part-time conservation agent for Sterling, and she's going to continue in that role where similar to the way Matt did. And she starts on November 28th, so I am told. So we have a conservation administrator. Any questions? All right, let's stop the screen share. And we'll figure out who I have to mute here. Let's see, topics not known 48 hours in advance. Tree removal, emergency tree removal. If you look in the, I will call that up. Let's get rid of this. Let's see. 242 Sunset Tree. Get this down to a manageable size. All right, let's share that screen. I got this email today, even though it stated 2 days ago, I got it today from Adam Burney that he was asked to go out and look at a tree that the homeowner feels is dangerous. It's dead. It hangs over their house. You can see here in this picture. And here's another picture. And here's another picture. And I'm looking for, Adam's not here to answer questions, but I think this picture speaks for itself. And I'm looking for a motion to approve this administrative determination to remove this pine tree.
So moved by Jeff.
Unless, I'm sorry, unless there is discussion first. So now I'm looking for a motion.
Bob, quick question.
Yep, absolutely. We have discussion first.
All right, thank you. I think I read that letter and there's a recommendation that the stump remain in place. Is that correct?
Yep. And so we can condition that, so Rich, if you wanted to make a motion and include that as a condition, that would be terrific.
Fine, then I'll make a motion that the tree be removed and the stump remain in place as recommended.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, Jeff and Mike tied for second. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
Aye.
Richard,
Aye.
and I for myself. That's it for new business. Old business, encroachment. I have not stopped by again at 104 Townsend Harbor, but I will. I'll give it another 2 or 3 times, and if not, then we are gonna take them to court. But I'd like to try to avoid taking them to court if we can. Budget update. I took and I put in the drive. I'll call that up. A budget report. Let's share that. Share that screen. So the Timber Rights Fund, we presently have $21,061. We're expecting to receive 6,000 from the Hawes Harvest and 21,000 from the Reno Harvest, less Gary's fees. And I forget what Gary gets, but he gets a percentage. So that's the money we currently have available to do good things on conservation land. And then we have the Hawes Gift Fund, otherwise known as the Hollis Road Revolving Fund. And the balance in that is almost $61,000, according to the report that I received. And then we have Conservation Commission trust funds. Taking a look before there, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 trust funds. So typically we're told that we can spend the earnings, but not the principal on these trust funds. So we'd have $32,381 as of the end of the last quarter, which would have been September. I think that would have been September 30th, to spend, and usually trust funds for the new members, trust funds are established with restrictions, that tell you what the money can be spent on. But what happened was, the current chairperson of the Trust Fund Commission died, and he had this great big notebook, and his wife threw it out. And that was the only copy of all the records of all the trusts. And so they don't really know what the trust funds were set up for. So basically, anytime we want to spend the money, we just ask the trust, the commissioner of trust, the trust commission. And if it sounds reasonable, they say, go ahead, and they say yes. So, but basically, we typically spend that for like incidental costs for land acquisition. I think when we bought the Lane property, we used trust funds to pay like for some of the legal fees and stuff like that. So, but that's our budget report. Hollis Road residents update on maintenance. Mike LaRouche has the floor for what I have been told is an extended period of time.
Looks like we've got a lot done since last meeting.
Excellent.
I did contact Paul Visconti, who's I guess really the person contact regarding things like exterminator contracts that need to be signed. And he in turn gave me a message and said that they've contracted the pest control company and they'll be able to handle the work for that site.
Oh, is Paul Visconti the facilities manager?
Yes, it
He
sounds
just
like,
resigned, you know.
pardon?
He just resigned.
Oh,
Oh, no.
okay. Like, like as of today?
Someone told me that, like 3 days ago.
Okay. Well, he
Somehow
answered
was
me.
right after you talked to him, Mike.
Okay. I've been trying to get the guy and he finally responded. Just my luck. I have to find a new contact now, but as far as I know, he told us that that contract was workable and I'm assuming he signed it. And if we need exterminator services, we have a contract to draw from.
Excellent.
The other thing about, I did get an equipment list. Remember that promised equipment list for
Yes.
Hollis Road? I finally got most of it. I did find out that all of the appliances in the Hollis Road resident is not the town's responsibility as it belongs to the tenant. So we don't have to worry
Oh.
about any of the internal appliances because it belongs to the tenant.
And how did you find that out, Mike? What was your source?
My source was the tenant.
Oh,
I just happened to ask her and she says, oh no, these are all my appliances. I go, oh, okay. And she gave me ages and things of when she got things. So I kind of said, just put it in my head, I don't have to worry about the appliances. However, I did go into the basement to look at water tanks and super hot water tanks. The age of the hot water tank is 2019. The Superstore hot water tank, a little older, 2007. And the boiler, I was unable to get any information other than serial number. And I should be able to figure out how old it is, but I'm thinking it might be in and around 2007, but I'll verify that age. The last service that was done was through CAMS Heating, and that was 2019. So I'm assuming well, here's a question, most homeowners who own property have their heating system serviced once a year. So if it was done in 2019, it looks like we're on our third year since anything was done with that heating system.
is it oil heat, Mike?
It is oil heat,
Oh, my goodness. We have an oil heater that hasn't been serviced in 3 years?
correct.
Oh,
So instead of, because the last bill that was incurred, and I'm assuming it was the tenant who incurred it, it was like $400 and something. And it would be a lot cheaper to get, someone to clean the burner and change the filters once a year. That goes a long way for the success of, so if it's okay, I will call CAMS to see if they can get me a price to do that. And we can, at least before the heating season gets totally underway, we could get ahead of that. The other piece is we have just an update on the windows, still looking at the first week of December through J&R Glass to begin that project, although I didn't get a definitive date this week when I called. So I'm just going and we'll continue to try to see as we get closer to, because they were ordered October 14th and it roughly 8 weeks after the order. So that brings us about the first week of December. I did finally get Signature Kitchens to come in and measure the space, and I have a few brochures on some cabinets. And I have a question for you. What is the most popular cabinet today? Color-wise? Any idea? The number one color for cabinets today?
Green,
Did you say green?
I did.
White?
It's not. It's
Oh.
white. White is the number one still. You would think after,
I thought it was
all these
trending away
years.
from white. That's
I-
what I keep hearing.
no, white is still a good cabinet, and there's some other choices. It's like dove gray, but you want to go as light as possible. Just a comment there, but who's good with color, who wants to weigh in on color on the cabinets that will eventually hopefully get, I welcome any input into that process. The big news, switching to the, we got permission from the tenant to use that shed outside for the storage of our lawnmower, so it would be protected for the winter. We did get Nick Pirro, who amazingly, not only did he take the riding lawnmower to repair, I helped him take all the abandoned mowers off the property, and he took them all away. So there's no abandon anything as far as lawnmowers. There's a couple of other things I'm not quite sure of on the property, but at least the lawnmowers are gone. And he said that he would do the repair for free, as he feels like he wants to give something back to the town. So he was very nice and insisted that, this is something he wanted to do, and it was a fun thing for him to do, to give something back to the town. So I thanked him, and hopefully we'll get the lawnmower back when he's finished. The other piece that we did was we noticed that the floor in that shed was essentially a ground dirt floor that had some broken pallets in it. And we removed those and raked the soil, and there's a 7-inch gap from, so if you were to put a lawnmower in there, it would just sink in the soil. So I got together with one of the volunteers at the Pollinator Habitat. He mentioned that he wanted to see if we could repurpose some of the lumber that's on that property that's been abandoned for years. I'm not sure if you know the history, but there used to be a pig pen on that property years ago. And we figured out we could utilize the standing full rough sawn lumber to make a frame around the floor for essentially just sweat equity. And we would require 2 pieces of plywood, 2 4-by-8-foot pieces of plywood that would, and a box of screws, and we can literally make that floor suitable for lawnmower and any other implements that the Habitat would like to use it for. I got a quote from Home Depot, and it was roughly $118 for the plywood and $10 for the screws. So I'd like to propose to see if we could purchase that so we can bring our lawnmower undercover for the winter, and it'll be all sharpened up, ready to go when we need it in the spring.
I make a motion that we authorize the purchase of 2 pieces of 3/4-inch pressure treated plywood and fasteners for the shed on the Hollis Road property.
Second,
We have a motion and a second. Roll call, Jeff,
Aye.
Katie, I'm sorry, Mike,
Aye.
Mary,
aye.
Richard,
Aye.
I for myself. Now you just gotta go talk to Adam Birdie to figure out how to do that.
Okay, I will. And I think that brings us up to speed. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mike. That sounds like you've been doing a lot of work there.
It
Thank you.
does. That's,
Thank you very
it's
much.
wonderful. A lot of progress. That's awesome.
Thank you.
Enforcement, I just have two comments on enforcement. One is 48 Oak Ridge. We got a letter in from the people there that they have a family illness, and so they asked for more time, which is kind of moot because we don't have an administrator, and these old enforcement issues are not going to be the most important thing for her to do when she first comes back. The other thing is earlier today, I tried to take and review the July 18th, 2021 tape for 23 Cove Road, like I promised those people I would last week. Earlier today, and I couldn't find the video. So I asked that, and that was like at 3:45. So I asked Adam Burney to reach out to them and tell them, you know, like that they wouldn't be on the agenda tonight, and there'd be no reason for them, you know, to sit through the whole meeting. And then after that, though, I had them found the video for me, and I watched it, and don't know if you're aware, but if you go to a YouTube video, some YouTube videos, you can automatically generate a transcript off of the video. And I did that, and I took a clip out of it, and that's in the meeting drive for tonight, a transcript of the relevant parts, you know, but it's one of these stream of consciousness transcripts where it's got all the flaws of speech to text recognition, and it doesn't identify who's speaking, but it sure does help you to figure out what was said when. And the bottom line was, in that meeting in 2018, the person was told that they had to take and work with Matt to see if they could come up with a plan or a reason why they could request a waiver to locate the shed within the within the no disturb zone, or do some plantings, and there was no resolution, and there was no acceptance of the shed that evening. But we'll take that up again at the next meeting. Anything new on enforcement? Well, open space, the Howard Street driveway. I spoke with Bill Bernard about what could he do to help me with the driveway. And he said, oh, that's something we would hire out to a contractor. He said, I don't know where the money would come from. And so I told him, well, then fine, I'm going to go and talk with Heather and the Board of Selectmen about, can they fund, a contractor to put in that driveway apron for us. So that's where that's at. Timber sales. Mr. King, the guy who's doing the lumber harvesting behind the water district right now, his wife just had a baby, so he's not working right now. But they basically taken all the trees out. If you go down and look behind the water department, you'll see the whole bunch of tree tops there, which, they got a whole tree chipper there. And so he's got to do that. And after that, he's going to move on to the property, onto the Reno property. And by the way, I had a request from Bill Bernard. Was there someplace on conservation land where he wanted to run a chainsaw safety class for people in the DPW? And he wanted to know, is there someplace where he could cut down 13 trees, as part of this chainsaw safety class? And so I reached out to Gary, our lumber consultant, who's supervising, could they do that as part of the harvest on the Reno property? He said, oh, sure, that'd be no problem. But I was thinking afterwards, oh, gee, maybe I'd like to take that chainsaw safety class, because I use a chainsaw all the time out there in the woods. So, because that'd be a great thing to do. But at any rate, that's going on. And Mary, would you like to give an update on the work party that you guys had last weekend?
I would love to tell you about our party. May I share?
Absolutely.
So, the work party, so this is a update on the, I don't know why I'm sharing twice. Oh, there it went away. So this is an update on the, approval, to, repair the bridge, down in the Cowdery. And, this is where we started. And the, Lunenburg, Lunenburg, Snow Riders, had planned the work party for last Saturday. Hurricane Nicole was intent on putting a damper on our party, but we were not daunted. We were planning on working on Saturday and Sunday. Saturday was raining, so we put off the formal work party, but it cleared in the afternoon. So me and another member were able to get the club ATV down there and ferry the material down the trail to the, you can see the bridge here. So we were able to ferry like half of the material down, and then Sunday, unfortunately, it really did rain, and that was the day it was supposed to be clear. But we still, as you can see, we had about 6 people turn out to help with doing the work. We got it almost done. You can see there's a big improvement here in the quality of the bridge and the after scene. But we still have a few things that we need to do. We still need to remove the defective wood. We have that piled, and it's out of the way, so it's not, you know, if we do get rain and we do get water flowing in this ravine again, this PT wood's not going to be sitting in it. We did pull some old wood out of this ravine area too. So we need to remove that wood. We have a plan for doing that. We needed to finish the banding. We just ran out of battery power and honestly steam because it was a little bit cold and the shadows were getting long again. And then we need to add a final transition board down here, and then we'll be done and we'll have a brand new bridge. I will meet with the Snow Riders tomorrow and find out when they'll get around to doing this. It'll probably be December, just given the holiday coming up and whatnot. So as long as we don't get snow or something that gets in the way of getting out and doing that short work, I think we'll have this knocked out probably by the end of December. Anyway.
Super. Thank you so much, Mary.
My pleasure.
And thank you to the Snow Riders.
I will pass that along.
Would you like committee reports? Would you like to give us an update on the lack of an open space meeting?
Yeah, so we've not really had quorum. We did meet this past week, but we didn't have, well, I mean, it was disputed about whether we had enough people or didn't have enough people. But ultimately, we ended up not having a formal meeting again. So we'll try again, I think, next month.
Okay. Thank you. And Sam Welsh, Sam Welsh was telling me that he's interested in land acquisition, and, you know, he's been active with Mass Audubon.
Mhm.
And so I called his attention to and I was watching a selectmen's meeting to see Anna Petrie's appointment, and I happened to hear the town manager say, oh, there's an opening on for an at-large member on the open space. And so I called Sam's attention to that, and he's interested in that. And I think you all heard him say at the last meeting that he's interested in being an associate member. So I've asked Rebecca to put him on the letterhead going forward as an associate member, the same like, you know, Rich used to do that. And before that, it was Mike, and a long time before that, it was Jeff. And before that, it was me. Before that, it was Tom Bertram. So we have a new associate member. Any public comment from members of the public or commissioners? Who is David?
Hi, this is Dave Black, 411 Goodrich Street.
Oh, hey, David.
How are ya?
We had you on earlier and we continued it till later in the meeting and I was gonna close it and I thought, no, we'll wait till the very bitter end of the meeting in case David shows up.
Yeah, I apologize. You guys have the wrong time for me. I didn't get out of work till 8 o'clock and that's when I joined, type of thing.
Okay, so but at any rate, so David, do you have the plan and would you like to share your screen or would you like me to do that?
If you could share, it would be helpful. I can try to drag it up, but I
Okay,
just got
I will do that.
I just-
Not a problem.
yeah, I just got back to my computer, so by the
All
time
right,
I
let's
find it,
see.
if yours is like mine, by the time I find it.
Okay. All right, so first of all, let's move this stuff out of here. Let's,
Okay, so that's that one. Let me see, I'll race you to see who finds it first then.
oh, I've got it. I just gotta take and,
Oh, here we go.
I got some bird's eye view pictures. Let's see,
How's this?
let's see. All right, you beat me to it. Go ahead.
Hey, I knew I had it somewhere. So, by the way, thank you for seeing me tonight. I appreciate the time. We've talked about this and I've had, several of the folks out. What I'm looking to do is in the back of my house, there are, excuse the thing that keeps flapping up there, but there are a bunch of very tall pine trees as well as other trees, nothing really too fancy, nothing too ornamental, that I'd like to take down and basically, because of the my concern for hazards and for hazards with what is now my fencing and around the pool and things of that sort. I did have a seasonal wetland back there. I had the folks from Dillis and Roy come out and mark off the wetland, and there's the one tree that's within the 30-foot no touch zone. So I'm 30-foot wetland buffer zone. And, for that, I would, I'm looking to take down some of these trees. And basically that's the only tree that would be within the 30-foot zone that I would look to take down. I replaced that with new trees or whatever else that the commission would think they would like near the wetlands. But, I don't have anything in specific as far as trees that I'd like to replace it with, but the tree itself was, I don't have that number in front of me. I forget the size of the tree that I said it was.
There's an inventory of trees, tree sizes in our drive.
Okay. So that, I would obviously, based on the, what I've heard from the commission in the past, I would look to replant other trees to make up for that one tree I'm taking down. There's also a concern that there's some debris back there that I would look to be able to remove that debris and basically just, put the land back to the way it should be near a wetland.
Are there any comments or questions from commissioners?
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
What was the reason that you wanted to take down the tree that's actually in the buffer zone?
It's just, well, two reasons. One is that I feel it would be awkward to have just that one 60-foot pine tree sitting there after I've taken everything else. And two, I know it's one of those pine trees where there's very little branches up until you get to the last 15 feet, and then there's some branches on the last 15 feet. So I'd like to put something, if I'm going to replant, I'd like to put trees that would grow up more ornamental, not ornamental, but nicer trees that would grow up in that area and not be that tall.
Anything else, Mary?
That's all for me, Mr. Chairman. Actually, I do have another question. There had been, not in this particular area, but up near, closer to the road and the driveway, a lot of construction debris. Is that all removed now?
The larger pieces, the predominant of the construction debris was removed. I've been trying to get down there to do the rest of the pieces, anything else there, but the predominant larger pieces that you can see have already been removed. I had to have the town come down. The town recently came down to finally finish my driveway. 3 months later, finished the driveway, and they were supposed to take some things with them that they didn't. So I've been waiting for the town to come and help clean it up.
Okay. Anything else, Mary?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
We're gonna move on to Richard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I was just wondering, are these trees dying, dead, or in danger of falling over?
So I wouldn't call them, well, what happened is I've spent, my whole yard was covered up by the sweet vine, I think they call it, but the big vines. And I've been battling that vine for several years now. It's one of the reasons why I'm looking to take the trees down and basically cultivate the land, kind of open up the land so I can try to get rid of these vines. But what I've spent a lot of time and a lot of resources trying to stop the vines, and that, yes, that has helped the trees. The trees have started to grow a little bit better now. However, every time when we have strong winds, the trees do sway quite a bit, and it is a concern for me.
Mr. Chairman? Oh, sorry,
last
sorry,
question.
Rick.
Anything
All
else,
right,
Rich?
last question. You said there was debris between the 30-foot no disturbance and the brook that you were going to clear out, should these trees not be in the way. What kind of debris are we talking about?
It looks like before me that they took, when they had redone a driveway at the house before me, that they had left some of the asphalt there.
Okay, and the only way to get it out is to take these trees down?
Well, it's surrounding the tree. It's not the only way to take it out. It's the fact that when the Conservation Committee came to look the first time, they saw the debris, and I'm doing, I felt it was prudent. I didn't realize it was in, I didn't even look back there to really see. But I felt it was prudent that I remove it if I'm gonna go through all this work of taking out the tree, taking out the stumps to take out the debris at the same time.
I'll say thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Jeff Viviano.
I have a picture of the trees if everybody would like to see it.
All right, I'm gonna stop his share.
Sure, I'll stop.
Okay, go ahead, Jeff.
See if I can get this. Can anybody see that?
Where it says you started.
Almost.
There we go.
Correct, yes,
So these are all the pines essentially,
that's correct. Yes, sir.
and I think this is the debris you're talking about.
No, that's not the debris. So if you
I
went.
remember there was like
If
some,
you went there, if you went right where you are, right where you are, actually, it's to the left of that. There's some debris right there, and then there's some debris to the left of that.
okay,
On there.
I
It's the
thought I
next-
remembered like bricks and asphalt and stuff in the ground
Exactly.
there.
So if you look at the.
yeah, there was
the
a
trees
pile
on the
of
left.
asphalt there, yeah.
Yeah, the two trees on the left, between those trees, the one, if you're looking at the tree that's like, say, I'll call it 11 o'clock, if you looked at it. The second from the left, that's the one that's within the 30-foot zone. And
Yep.
at the base of that tree, there is some debris.
Okay,
And as you guys have seen, if you're here, you can see I've done a lot of work to this property from what it used to be, to make it something different. I'm just looking to try to, continue and do the last phase and really make this into a showpiece, really make this into something that Lunenburg be proud of.
Any other comments or questions from commissioners?
I guess I have a question, being
ahead,
one of
Mary.
the newer members of the commission. Do we generally let people take down what looks like healthy trees that are not obstructing any, progress or anything in the 50-foot zone?
In the 30-foot?
In the 50-foot.
In the 50-foot, yes. In the 30-foot, not usually. It all depends, unless they're a safety issue. If they're a safety issue, we almost always let them cut them down. But that at least that's my opinion of the past practice. Jeff's been around as long as I have. He might have a different opinion. I don't know.
No, I guess it's situational, every site's different, and this one, I mean, Mary's correct, they're healthy pine trees, and I think the gentleman just wants to maybe get some more sunlight in the yard and replant. I think he suggested to plant 4 trees in replacement of that one within the 30. So I guess that's kind of what you're voting for here, yay or nay, whether you agree with it or disagree with it, so.
And I would note that, we do have a tree replacement schedule, in our regulations, which infers that sometimes we let people cut trees down, in the no disturb zone, because we have a thing which says, if you're gonna cut a tree down and it's this big, you gotta replace it with this. If it's that big, you gotta replace it with that kind of thing. So, we do have a protocol for it, Mary. I don't know if that helps or not.
It does. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I just have a couple of questions for.
Go.
Is there any chance you could just grind the stumps? I mean, these must have huge root systems, and I think you're going to be kind of encroaching in that 30-foot no touch if you're starting to tear these huge root systems out of the ground.
Jeff, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but speaking for myself, I won't approve the removal of these trees if the stumps are going to be anything other than ground.
Okay, all right.
Just speaking for myself as one vote.
I would completely agree with you there. And then, just the replacement of trees for that one that's taken within the 30. I'm in agreement with that. And, something that's not of, that soft pine, maybe some maples and oaks would be nice. I guess that's just my own comments.
Richard, do you have any additional comments? Oh, wait, we have Mike LaRouche has raised his hand. Go ahead, Mike.
Have we determined how many trees Mr. Blatt would have to plant to replace these perfectly healthy trees, even though they don't seem to meet with Mr. Blatt's landscaping plans? Because from this picture, they look kind of like beautiful trees to me, but I don't live there. But to see them gone, I would think that, there would be a number of trees that would have to be planted to take their place. And does Mr. Blatt have a number in mind?
So if I may, Mr. Chair, there is,
You go right ahead, but I'll tell you, while you're looking it up, I'm looking up what our regulations say.
So the one tree that is within the 30 feet is 36 inches in diameter. It's actually a little less. It's like 34. But anyway, I think my understanding is it's one tree for every 8 inches in diameter. So I'd be looking to replace with four trees. If the committee wanted, I would replace it with 5 trees. No, I'm just, it's And the other question I had is, I don't have a problem with leaving the stumps there. My wife, I'm sure, would find something creative to do with the stumps. I'm sure I'll end up with a gnome village or something out there with the stumps. But the fact of the matter is, that's not a problem. I just looked at it as trying to, when I'm clearing everything up, I was clearing everything up. If I'm gonna have an excavator out there to clear up all the debris, clear up the debris, I was gonna look to just, take the stumps out at the same time. So I'm totally open for the commission. I'm not sitting here with, my, anybody, any, specialist or anything like that to try to argue whatever you guys want. I'm just looking to, I thought it was the right thing to come to the committee in the first place instead of just doing it. And I'm just, now that we've gone through this process, I'm trying to be the right citizen.
Any other questions or comments? Let's see if I can find our regulations. Let's see, remember what protection regulations. Greater than 20 inches, 3 replacements. So less than 8, 1, 8 to 20 inches, 2, greater than 23. Which is and this is 36, and so he's offered to replace plant artists 5.
Well, I'd like to get away with 4, but if I have to do 5, I'll do 5.
Yeah. All right, but really this says 3. But it all comes down to somebody needs to make a motion here to approve or deny, or to approve with conditions. And I would hope that whoever makes the motion, unless you want to have further discussion about, or maybe do a straw poll about, let's do a straw poll. We got a lot of ambiguity here. Jeff, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, my understanding is we can only really regulate within 30 feet, and that's that one tree. And my suggestion, like I said, would just to grind those stumps within the 50 and leave those in place, and then just use the 4 trees as a replanting. So I'm for it under those conditions.
Thank you, Jeff. Mary, where are you at on this?
I'd be inclined to approve with the conditions to replace with 5 native hardwoods and to grind the stumps in place.
All right, Mike LaRouche, where are you on this?
Yeah, I would think 5 hardwood trees and grind the stumps. As much as I hate to see a 36-inch diameter tree go, I'm an old person and I'd like to be able to stand a lot more years. But, if that's what someone wants to choose to take a nice carbon eater off the planet, that's on their conscience, not mine.
Well, you know how to lay it on thick, Mike.
Yes.
Excellent job of doing that. Rich,
Oh.
Rich, where do you stand on this?
I agree with what was said to this point. I could live with that. I would just want to amend it to say that during this process, that debris that was talked about is removed.
So I guess I'm looking for a motion based on what I heard as a consensus to approve with, this is a RDA, I think. Is this an RDA? This is,
Yeah, RDA.
Yes.
it
It's
is
an
an
RDA.
RDA. Okay, so I get, based on what I've heard, I was thinking that I would be hearing a motion to give a negative determination with the condition to allow them to take the 4 trees down with the condition that the debris be removed, the stumps be ground or left, and that 5 native hardwoods be planted in as replacement trees.
So moved.
Thank
Can I
you. We
make an
have a
amendment?
Motion by
Sorry.
Mary. Do we have a second?
Richard will second.
All right, roll call. Jeff.
Just
Mike?
one question.
Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Jeff. I'm so sorry.
Did you have removal of debris in that motion?
I did.
Okay, great. That's a yes then.
Okay, Jeff. Mike,
Yes.
Mary,
Yes.
and Rich,
Yes,
and I for myself. Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm sorry, can I just ask, I thank you very much. I very much appreciate working with you guys. Just a couple of quick questions for me, just as I can clarify. Is there a general area you want the 5 trees? Do you want them in the same area? Do you want them in a different area? Or, what is your thoughts on that? And then you mentioned I know we talked about the one that's within the 30-foot touch, but all of those trees, do you want to make sure that I leave the stump on all of them, or just the one that's within the 30-foot?
All of them.
Okay,
Love-
that's-
yeah.
okay. And any particular spot you want the 5 trees? You just want them in that same basic area?
I would suggest that you take and we'll have a new conservation administrator on the 28th, who is
Okay.
a tree specialist.
Ooh, okay,
And that's what she did. That she's got a whole college degree in tree identification.
Okay.
So I suggest you work with her on to develop for suggestions on how to plant these trees.
very good. Okay, like I said, I just want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. I don't want to have to do
Okay.
it. We don't want to do it twice, right?
All right, no, we don't.
Well, especially me. So, all
Thank you, David.
right, thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Have a good evening. Thanks for your time.
All right. So before I look for a motion to adjourn and for public comment, I just want to review knowledge of results, so I can send a correct email to Rebecca in the morning that we had a negative determination for Mr. Blatt just now with those conditions I just outlined. That we approve the notice of intent for the septic system at Palmer Road with the condition that they not start until they have the permission from on the to go over to town land. That we continued the abbreviated the ANRAD, that we passed the notice of intent for the single family home with a standard order of conditions. We continued the next 3 and we passed the new warehouse with a standard order of conditions. Did I get that right? Phew. Any final comment from the commission? There are no public members left. We outlasted them all and it's only 8:39.
Excellent
Ooh,
job.
That's luxurious.
All right. I'm looking
Great
for a
job.
motion to adjourn then.
So
So
moved.
So moved.
All right.
Second.
Roll call. Jeff.
Aye.
Katie, I'm sorry, yeah, Katie's not gonna vote tonight for sure. Mike,
I will vote yes, aye.
thank you, Mike. Mary,
Aye.
Rich,
Aye.
and I for myself, thank you so much for a very effective meeting and
Mr.
efficient.
Chair?
Go
Mr.
ahead,
Chair,
Mike.
I just want to get a shout out to Rick Hilson. He's the husband of one of the pollinator habitat members who's going to help with that floor. I just wanted to give him a shout out to thank him for all of his expertise and help in putting in that floor in the shed. And
Thank
I
you, Mike.
All right.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Excellent. All right, good night, everyone.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.